Hello, my name is Stephen McDonald
And I'm Shilpa Jayasudasan.
and we'd like to welcome you to the Beat CKD Consumer Advisory Board. We're delighted that you're interested in being involved and would like to thank you for volunteering to give up your time to help us in these endeavours.
So who are we? Well, this Consumer Advisory Board is being jointly run by the Beat CKD program, which we'll explain in a moment, and Kidney Health Australia.
So what is Beat CKD? Beat CKD is a research program which brings together different kidney research groups from around Australia. The different groups involved, Australia and New Zealand Dialysis and Transplant Registry, and this group collects data and provides information about the rates and outcomes of dialysis and transplantation in Australia. The Australasian Kidney Trials Network coordinates activity in trials to test new treatments and new interventions in chronic kidney disease. The Cochrane Kidney and Transplant Group specialise in looking at the evidence that exists for various problems and determining where there are gaps. And KHA-CARI are a group who produce clinical practice guidelines, and these are the documents that are produced to assist doctors and nurses and other clinical staff in providing care that is up-to-date and evidence-based to patients with chronic kidney disease. Each of these groups has differing strengths and differing roles, but together they work together to feed off each other's strengths and move the area of care and treatment for people with chronic kidney disease forward.
Kidney Health Australia, previously known as the Australian Kidney Foundation, is the peak not-for-profit organisation in Australia that represents patients with kidney disease, their carers and the kidney community.
The aim of the Beat CKD Consumer Advisory Board is to involve consumers, that is patients and carers, in all stages of the research process, from planning overall directions of research all the way through to sharing of results once projects are completed. We recognise that there's a critical role for consumers in directing how we do research and making sure that the research that is done is meaningful to patients. Over time, there'll be many different activities that the board can become involved in, but fundamentally what this process is about is involving patients in the research process, not as subjects of research. These roles are going to include thinking of topics for research projects, reviewing research projects to ensure that they're actually relevant to consumers, being involved in the conduct of projects and working out, once the results are in, how to best communicate those results back to the community and being part of the discussion about how to implement them into clinical care.
So last year we held 3 consumer engagement workshops in Sydney, Adelaide and Brisbane, and you may have participated in these. From these workshops we recognised that consumers had a clear enthusiasm and desire for being involved in research to a greater degree, and a real thirst for having more interaction with the people who are doing the research. We also identified a critical need for more research to be fed back to both consumers who have participated in the research and the general kidney community. After looking at feedback from these workshops, we put forward the idea of a consumer advisory board where interested patients and carers could help determine what kidney research is done in Australia and how this research is conducted.
So, what is the next step? At the first Consumer Advisory Board meeting, we're going to discuss with you what you would like to see happen across the Beat CKD research program. In particular, one of the issues we'll be discussing is the topics and areas that you would like to see discussed at the forthcoming meeting of the Australian-New Zealand Society of Nephrology. One of the strong pieces of feedback, as Shilpa said, from the earlier workshops was people want to hear more about what's going on and what the outcomes are of research. And so there are going to be 2 separate sessions at this meeting in Sydney where consumers will be able to come and hear about what's going on and what the outcomes are of research into chronic kidney disease. A really important part of planning these sessions is to work with the Beat CKD Advisory Board to actually work out what types of format and what types of topics would be best discussed in those sessions.
So I'd like to conclude by thanking you for the time and effort that you have put in so far, and we look forward to working with you to try and bring research back to the kidney community. Thanks very much.
Thank you.